Welcome to the Game Week 22 team selection. Before we get on to the midweek games, let's take a quick look back to Game Week 21. There were 4 out of 5 clean sheets at the back, after the triple Burnley clean sheet thankfully came in, along with Nicolas Otamendi and Man City keeping out Crystal Palace. Chelsea were able to keep out Stoke in their 5-0 win, but despite returning from illness, Andreas Christensen only made the bench, perhaps with the Arsenal game in mind next game week. Moving into midfield, Richarlison and Mo Salah provided returns, but the 2 Man City midfielders blanked, and Raheem Sterling was given a rest, so just a 1 point from him. Moving the captain's armband away from Salah proved costly, after Alvaro Morata was unable to find returns against Stoke, despite Chelsea putting 5 goals past Mark Hughes' side. He had 2 big chances denied by Jack Butland, but the logic was there on paper. Chelsea were always likely to take advantage of an injury-stricken Stoke defence, and that's why Morata as a differential captain option was so tempting, but it just didn't work out on this occasion. At the time of recording this video, the final ranks update hasn't taken place, but it will most likely be a very small red arrow with a fairly average score of 53 points. Not too disastrous considering the captain fail. So let's move swiftly on to Game Week 22. After making just the 1 transfer last game week to bring West Ham's Adrian in for the injured Rob Elliot, there are 2 free transfers available to use for Game Week 22, which of course is a double game week for West Ham and Spurs. Kevin De Bruyne is looking likely to miss the Watford game after suffering an injury against Crystal Palace, so he will almost certainly make way for a Spurs midfielder, while Marko Arnautovic's form makes him an attractive replacement for Richarlison. Heung-Min Son may be more of a risk for game time than Dele Alli or Christian Eriksen, but he's been the most in form of the 3 of late, and the cash saved there would enable a big transfer up front. After Gabriel Jesus suffered an injury that is set to rule him out for up to 2 months, Sergio Aguero is a very tempting option for Man City's home fixture against Watford. It would require a 4-point hit, but given that the Argentine should now start in that fixture, he could certainly make that back. So no transfers have been made yet. There are slight doubts over Harry Kane and Mo Salah, which could change the plans, so be sure to keep an eye over on Twitter for the confirmed transfers prior to the deadline. But here's how the team will most likely shape up for Game Week 22. Adrian and Masuaku will come into the starting lineup after sitting on the bench last game week due to West Ham being without a fixture. They now have a double game week where they'll first host West Brom before later travelling to Spurs. So despite their poor form in the last couple of matches, hopefully they can return something across the 2 fixtures. Nicolas Otamendi and Andreas Christensen complete the defence for their fixtures against Watford and Arsenal. It's a tough fixture for Chelsea on paper, but their defensive form is good, and the centre-back should come back in after being on the bench against Stoke. LOFTUS-CHEEK is a slight concern for the Southampton game, after he wasn't included in the squad for the 0-0 draw with Man City. There hasn't been an official update on him yet, so hopefully there's no bad news, but if he doesn't return, Dominic Calvert-Lewin will come off the bench for Everton's home fixture against Man United. Raheem Sterling should return to the starting lineup after being rested against Crystal Palace, but Mo Salah is a doubt after Jurgen Klopp revealed he picked up a knock against Leicester. But with so much money invested in the Liverpool man, and still a chance of him featuring in Game Week 22, selling him doesn't look an option for now. Sergio Aguero, all being well, will replace Alvaro Morata for Man City's home fixture against a Watford side that have suffered defeats in 4 of their last 5 games, conceding 10 goals. Only 4 teams have shipped more goals during that period. We're all hoping Harry Kane is able to overcome his illness to line up against both Swansea and West Ham in Game Week 22, and hopefully we get news of whether or not he's trained prior to the deadline. The Spurs man will almost certainly be our captain either way, but if positive news comes in regarding his availability, using the triple captainship will be an option. For now though, that's looking a little too risky. Follow FPLtips on Twitter to be notified of any updates to the team in advance of the game week deadline.